The version of you that exists right now cannot take you to the life you keep imagining, and deep down you already know that. That's why you feel stuck. That's why you feel restless. That's why nothing feels enough anymore. You've outgrown yourself, but you're still living according to the habits, the fears, and the limitations of your old identity. And until you're willing to let that version of you die, you will stay trapped in the same cycles you keep promising yourself you'll break. The first step to building your future is accepting that your old self is the main obstacle standing between you and everything you want. It's not the economy. It's not your past. It's not your circumstances. It's the outdated version of you who keeps clinging to comfort because growth feels threatening. But growth should threaten your comfort because comfort is the coffin where dreams go to die. You keep thinking you need motivation. No, you need a funeral for the version of you that wakes up tired, avoids difficult conversations, procrastinates on responsibilities, entertains lazy people, and hides behind excuses every time life demands strength. That version of you is familiar, yes, but familiar doesn't mean valuable. You don't owe loyalty to the person you used to be. You owe loyalty to the person you are capable of becoming. Yet you keep dragging your old identity into a future it was never designed to handle, and then you wonder why things keep falling apart. Your old self is built on survival, but your future requires strategy. Your old self was shaped by fear, but your future demands dominance. Your old self cares about comfort, but your future thrives on discipline. Every time you choose what's easy instead of what's necessary, you feed the old identity that's been ruining your potential. And as long as that identity is alive, you will repeat the same mistakes, attract the same people, fight the same battles, and face the same disappointments. Nothing changes externally until everything changes internally. This is why disappearing is necessary, not disappearing from life, but disappearing from the habits, environments, and people that keep reminding you who you used to be. You cannot transform while staying in a place that reinforces your weaknesses. You cannot upgrade while surrounding yourself with people who benefit from your stagnation. You cannot grow when you keep choosing what's convenient over what's required. Disappearance is not an escape. It's a transformation strategy. You walk away from the old world so you can build the new one without interference. And when you disappear, you heal. You confront the habits that sabotage you. You break the cycles you've been stuck in for years. You develop the discipline you've been avoiding. You build the mental clarity your old self was too distracted to create. You strip away every excuse, every story, every limitation until you stand face to face with the truth the life you want already exists. It's just waiting for the upgraded version of you to show up. Your old self cannot come with you into the next chapter. It wasn't built for your goals, wasn't built for your future. It wasn't built for the strength you are meant to develop. So the sooner you bury that version of you, the sooner you rise into the person you were always meant to become. Silence is not the absence of noise. It is the presence of truth. And the reason most people avoid silence is because they are terrified of what they will hear when their distractions are gone. When you finally step away from the noise, the gossip, the opinions, the comparisons, and the emotional clutter that fills your mind every single day, you are forced to confront the reality of who you are and who you have allowed yourself to become. And for many, that realization is uncomfortable, but discomfort is exactly what transforms you. Silence doesn't weaken you. It strips away the illusions that have been blinding you. Most people don't realize that their mind is being hijacked every single day by everything except their own purpose. Notifications, social media, arguments, meaningless conversations, toxic people, they drain your energy and scatter your attention until you forget what actually matters. And when your mind is noisy, your life becomes chaotic. You jump from task to task, emotion to emotion, problem to problem, never stopping long enough to ask, is this helping me or hurting me? Disappearing into silence gives you the space to ask the questions that shape your future, not the ones that keep you trapped in your past. Silence forces clarity. Clarity forces decisions. And decisions force growth. When you isolate yourself from unnecessary noise, you begin to see life as it truly is, not through fear, not through insecurity, not through the eyes of people who don't believe in you, but through a lens of raw honesty. And with honesty comes power. You begin to recognize the habits you need to break, the relationships you need to walk away from, the dreams you've been neglecting, and the potential you've been wasting. Noise hides all of that. Silence reveals it. And the deeper you go into silence, the more dangerous you become, because now you're operating from intention, not impulse. You're thinking before acting. You're moving with purpose instead of reacting emotionally. You're choosing your battles instead of being dragged into them. Silence strengthens your mind the way weights strengthen your body. It builds mental resilience, emotional control, and unshakable focus. The world is loud on purpose. It wants you distracted, confused, overwhelmed, and dependent, because a focused person is unstoppable. A disciplined person is untouchable. A quiet mind is a weapon. That's why disappearing isn't weakness, it's strategy. You separate yourself from noise so you can hear your ambition again. You distance yourself from chaos so you can rebuild your identity without interruption. You step back not to quit, but to prepare. In silence, you reconnect with the part of you that knows exactly what you want, but has been drowned out by fear and noise. You remember your standards. You rediscover your values. You redefine your goals. You rebuild your mindset. And when you return, you don't come back the same. You come back sharper. You come back centered. You come back ready. Silence doesn't make you invisible. It makes you inevitable. Most people ruin their own potential because they care more about being liked than being great. They want applause before effort, validation before discipline, and recognition before results. But success doesn't grow in places where approval is the priority. Success grows in the shadows, in the hours when no one is watching, supporting, or cheering. That's why isolation isn't loneliness. It's a required phase of evolution. When you stop trying to impress the world you've outgrown, you finally gain the freedom to build the life you actually want. Growth requires separation. Not because you're better than others, but because you're becoming better than your former self. And that process demands focus the average person can't understand. You cannot build a powerful future while staying emotionally attached to a past that kept you small. You can't move forward while constantly glancing sideways to see who approves of your progress. Every time you seek permission, you shrink your potential. Every time you ask someone, do you think I should do this? You hand them the steering wheel to a life they're not even living. People who haven't built anything will always give advice that keeps you from building something. That's why isolation is not optional. It is the shield that protects your ambition from the influence of mediocrity. Isolation strips away the noise of opinions. It removes the expectations people try to place on your life. It forces you to face your own thoughts, your own goals, your own discipline. And that's where strength is built. When you are alone, you are forced to become your own motivator, your own strategist, your own accountability partner. You stop leaning on others to hold you up and start learning how to stand on your own. The moment you no longer require external approval, you become unstoppable. People misunderstand isolation because they think it means shutting the world out. It's not about disappearing from everyone. It's about disappearing from everything that slows you down. You distance yourself from drama because it steals your focus. You disconnect from inconsistent people because they disrupt your progress. You stop explaining your vision to those who can't see beyond their own limitations. You remove yourself from environments that encourage weakness over discipline. Isolation is simply the process of eliminating anything that prevents you from becoming who you were meant to be. And here's the truth. The more committed you are to your growth, the smaller your circle becomes. Not because you don't care about people, but because you can no longer afford to live at the level they accept. Success demands obsession. Obsession demands solitude. You can't be obsessed with your vision while entertaining distractions. You can't build momentum while constantly being pulled into emotional chaos. You can't evolve while surrounded by people who are comfortable staying the same. Isolation creates the space required for transformation. It gives you time to study, train, plan, build, and execute without interference. It deepens your hunger and sharpens your focus. It toughens your mind and strengthens your discipline. And when you step back into the world, you don't come back as the same version of yourself. You come back elevated, refined, and prepared for levels of life you could never reach while seeking approval. Isolation doesn't make you distant. It makes you dangerous. When you become obsessed with your mission, everything else in your life begins to rearrange itself. Your habits, your priorities, your energy, your circle, even your identity. Obsession is not about working nonstop until you burn out. It's about aligning your life so tightly with your purpose that anything not connected to your growth becomes irrelevant. When people say you've changed, they're right. When they say you're distant, they're right. When they say you're not the same, they're right. Because obsession requires transformation, and transformation requires letting go of anything that slows your momentum. You stop explaining your grind. You stop defending your goals. You stop apologizing for choosing your future over temporary comfort. You disappear into the mission because you know that greatness demands a version of you that doesn't exist yet. And the only way to become that version is to give your life a singular direction. Most people never experience the power of true obsession because they are too busy negotiating with their laziness, negotiating with their fears, negotiating with their excuses, negotiating with people who don't even believe in them. You can't negotiate with your dreams. You either commit or you don't. And until you choose commitment with your whole chest, your results will reflect your hesitation. Obsession eliminates hesitation. It eliminates doubt. It eliminates the mental noise that keeps you distracted. When you lock in on your mission, your mind becomes a weapon. Your actions become intentional. Your time becomes sacred. Every day becomes an investment instead of a repetition of yesterday's mistakes. There comes a point where you stop waking up hoping for motivation. You wake up driven because the mission has taken over your bloodstream. You start viewing every hour as an opportunity or a threat. If you waste it, you fall behind. If you use it, you move closer. This mindset changes everything. You stop tolerating anything that doesn't elevate you. You stop entertaining emotions that weaken you. You stop participating in conversations that drain you. You stop giving chances to people who always break them. Your mission becomes the filter through which every decision must pass. Does this help me or hurt me? Does this push me forward or pull me back? And when you start thinking like that, your entire life cleans itself out. People will call you intense. Good. People will call you obsessed. Even better, people will say you work too hard, think too big, move too fast. Let them talk. What looks like too much to them is exactly why they stay average. What they mock now, they'll admire later. Because obsession produces results so undeniable that even your critics will have no choice but to respect them. You disappear, not to hide, but to build. You vanish from distractions so you can appear later with results loud enough to silence every doubt you ever had. Obsession is not unhealthy when the mission is worthy. Obsession is the force that transforms ideas into achievements, potential into reality, and dreams into legacies. When you become obsessed, distractions lose their power, comfort loses its appeal, and excuses lose their hold. You stop waiting for the right moment. You create it. You stop seeking chances. You build them. You stop wishing life was different. You make it different. And one day, when you reappear after disappearing into the mission, you'll show up unrecognizable, not because you got lucky, but because obsession rebuilt you into someone capable of winning. People don't respect your intentions, your dreams, or your promises. They respect your results. That's the hardest truth most people never accept. You can talk all day about what you want, what you're planning, what you're trying, but until you have something real to show for it, the world will treat you exactly as you are, not as you hope to be. And that's why disappearing is so powerful. When you remove yourself from empty conversations and wasted energy, when you stop announcing moves you haven't made yet, when you stop seeking validation from people who wouldn't follow their own advice, you give yourself the space to build something that makes noise without you ever opening your mouth. This is what people forget. The world obeys results. It ignores excuses. It forgets intentions. It dismisses potential. But results command respect. Every time you choose comfort over consistency, you feed the version of you that gets ignored. Every time you make excuses instead of progress, you confirm to the world that you're all talk. And every time you break the promises you make to yourself, you damage the reputation that matters most, the one you hold within. Results are not just for the world, they're for you. They are proof that your effort, discipline, and sacrifices meant something. They are the receipts for the life you're trying to build. When you disappear into the grind, you stop trying to prove you're committed. You start becoming committed. The reason people underestimate you is simple. You've allowed them to. You've spoken too early, revealed too much, shared dreams with people who could barely handle their own, and expected them to cheer for a vision they can't even imagine. But when you disappear, you stop giving people access to the process that shapes you. You stop explaining why you're changing. You stop trying to justify your ambition. You move in silence, not because you're hiding, but because you're working. Silence protects your progress. It keeps your energy clean. It allows you to focus long enough to create results powerful enough to shift how the world treats you. And the moment you start producing results, everything changes. People who ignored you will pay attention. People who doubted you will get quiet. People who left you will try to come back. People who once gave you excuses will now try to offer advice. But by then, it won't matter, because the version of you that disappears for growth reappears with a level of confidence and clarity that cannot be shaken by opinions. You no longer need applause because your work speaks louder than any praise could. You no longer crave approval because your results validate you in ways people never could. You have to stop expecting respect from a world you haven't proven yourself to yet. You have to stop wanting recognition for seeds you haven't watered. Success speaks a language the world understands, instantly results. Not explanations, not potential, not stories of one day, results. So disappear, build, grand, focus, execute, make sacrifices in private so your victories can roar in public. Let your results introduce you far more powerfully than your words ever will. Because once you have results, the same world that ignored you will have no choice but to pay attention. Rebirth doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the dark, in the quiet moments where no one is watching, supporting, or applauding. Disappearing is not the end of you. It is the beginning of the version of yourself that you were always meant to become. When you step away, when you isolate yourself from the noise, the doubts, the familiar routines, and the people who keep you anchored to who you used to be, you create the perfect environment for transformation. People think disappearing means quitting. They think it's giving up, but they have no idea that disappearing is the most powerful move you can make. You are not running away. You are rebuilding. You are not hiding. You are not preparing. You are not lost. You are finally choosing a path that leads to the version of you your future requires. There's always a period in life where you feel like a ghost. You're still here, but not present in the old places. You don't fit your past, but your future hasn't fully arrived yet. That in-between phase is where most people give up because they can't stand the discomfort of becoming someone new. But if you can endure that phase, if you can withstand the loneliness, the uncertainty, the silence, you emerge on the other side with a power that cannot be taken from you. You become someone unrecognizable, not because you changed a little, but because you changed entirely. The world sees a new face, a new energy, a new level of discipline, but what they don't see is the battlefield you had to survive to get there. Reappearing isn't about proving anything to anyone. It's about proving everything to yourself. It's about showing up after months of sacrifice, after nights of doubt, after days where quitting felt easier, and realizing you didn't endure all that pain for nothing. You reappear with a new mindset, one that doesn't fold under pressure. You reappear with a stronger heart, one that doesn't break at the first sign of adversity. You reappear with a sharper vision, one that doesn't get distracted by noise or negativity. The world may not recognize you at first, and that's exactly the point. You outgrow what once defined you. You outgrow the patterns, the pain, the habits, the weaknesses. You outgrow people who didn't believe in you. You outgrow the smallness you once settled for. Rebirth means you are no longer defined by who you were. You are defined by who you built yourself to become. And here's the truth the world notices. They might not say it aloud, but they feel the difference. Your presence hits differently. Your energy commands attention. Your discipline inspires respect. People who once overlooked you now look twice. People who once doubted you fall silent. People who once took you for granted suddenly understand your worth. But by then, their validation won't matter. You didn't rebuild yourself for applause. You rebuilt yourself for the life you are stepping into. You didn't disappear to impress anyone. You disappeared to become unstoppable. Rebirth is not about returning as the old you with minor improvements. It's about reappearing as someone the old you could never compete with, someone powerful, someone disciplined, someone focused, someone untouchable. And the moment you step back into the world with that new identity, you realize disappearing wasn't losing time. It was the greatest investment you ever made.